Welcome into Dolphins Today. I am Tom Downey. Today's show is made possible by Kenzuri. We'll tell you all about their height-boosting shoes later on in today's show. But remember, you can get 15% off your order by using promo code CHAT over at Kenzuri.com/chat. Before we break down today's show, some trade candidates for the Miami Dolphins. If you want even more Dolphins content, then like the video right now. I know my good friend Will Scott is no longer here, but we are committed to continuing to bring you guys more Dolphins videos. So if you want that, all for free, like the video right now. Let's begin with three different trade candidates that were mentioned by Bleacher Report in their recent article. We'll break down all three, beginning with, I think, a name the Dolphins would like to trade. That is wide receiver Cedrick Wilson, who had signed with the Dolphins in free agency. They pulled him away from the Dallas Cowboys, and he didn't do that much there. He signed a 3-year, $22 million contract with the Dolphins last offseason, and I don't think Miami had planned to have Tyreek Hill on the team. They were going to use some more speed with a player like Cedrick Wilson. Then Tyreek Hill comes to town, and Wilson kind of just falls out of favor with no real role for himself in the offense. Didn't make any real impact as an actual receiver. And that contract, by the way, is a big problem. He's due $7 million in salary this year, with $5.5 million of it guaranteed. That is a very real problem for other teams in terms of trading for Cedrick Wilson. The numbers, by the way, really do stand out. He played very well in 2021. He was basically wide receiver 4.5, 5, 4, somewhere in that range for the Cowboys. They had some injuries, so he played a little bit more. Had a nice season for Dallas. He had some trick plays, had success as a member of the Cowboys organization, got himself paid by Miami, and then didn't do much of anything. It was now you're worried of is it just a one-year wonder for Miami? And there is depth at wide receiver for the Dolphins, if a little bit unproven. Obviously, Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle form one of the best, if not, I would say the best, 1-2 punch in the entire NFL. Braxton Berrios can be a pure slot. Wilson mostly played slot, but he can do some outside stuff at his size. Robbie Chosen Anderson, Robbie with a Y, Robbie with an I-E Anderson, all the same player there. River Craycraft, Eric Ezukama. There are options for Miami. And I do think the Dolphins would like to trade him because they can free up some money for the long term, help pay for Tua's big extension, and not use a player who didn't produce very much last year. So what do you guys think? Will the Dolphins end up trading Cedrick Wilson? This question is today's pinned comment. So if that ad happens to play here on YouTube, great, it's fine. Take advantage of it. Head down there and go vote. Y for yes, N for no. Do you think the Dolphins will end up trading Cedrick Wilson? Not do you want them to, will they trade him? The ad comes here on YouTube. Go vote right now at the pinned comment. Wilson's contract is going to be a problem. There's not many teams lining up to pay him a guaranteed $5 million of his $7 million salary when he simply didn't perform last year. His value's not very high. So in the event the Miami Dolphins want to trade Cedrick Wilson, I think the only real way they're going to be able to make that happen is if they eat some of the contract. If they take that $7 million salary, the $5 million guaranteed, and they say, you know what, to get us a draft pick back, that's fine. We will absorb some of the money and simply say, we're good to go. We will add, we'll eat the $5 million. We're not going to save it anyway. We have to eat it in the event we're going to, trade him or cut him because it's guaranteed after all. So what we'll do is we'll just eat the money and we'll get a 7th-round pick back. New team would then pay Cedrick Wilson $2 million. That's the path in which it happens. Otherwise, I think Miami is either forced to cut him and save the $2 million or look for a new path altogether and just keep him on the roster. This edition of Dolphins Today is sponsored by Kenzuri, height-boosting shoes to help make you a little bit more confident, especially in the dating game. You guys can get 15% off your order at Kenzuri.com/chat when you use promo code chat. We got Short Kings covered with today's sponsors. They make shoes that can add up to 2.8 inches to your height discreetly without anyone knowing. After all, women get heels, makeup, push-up bras. Men deserve a confidence boost as well. Kenzuri shoes are not only height-boosting, but stylish and comfortable. They are not Grandpa's ugly Velcro shoes, but fashionable shoes that can get compliments even without the height increase. Their height insoles are built into the shoes, making it the ultimate height hack. For a limited time, you guys get an extra 15% off your order at Kenzuri.com/chat. The site is already up to 30% off, so with our link, get an extra 15 for 45% off your order in total. Support the show and check them out. Konzuri.com/chat. Life is short, but you guys do not have to be. Level the playing field. Update your dating profile to 6 foot. Have some more success there with Kenzuri. Links in the comments section and the description of today's show. Kenzuri.com/chat. Next up on the trade candidates, again, per Bleacher Report, Myles Gaskin, the running back. And yeah, Bleacher Report can be very much hit or miss. I think their list overall is pretty quality. And in terms of players Miami would like to trade, maybe not so much quality in terms of the draft pick going back their way. Because much like Cedrick Wilson, the Dolphins would not get much back for Myles Gaskin. He was barely used this past season, and he's basically making the vet minimum this year. And Miami, as every single person who, of course, is subscribed knows, is in the mix for Dalvin Cook. They have other options at the running back position. So it makes sense for them to potentially showcase Myles Gaskin in the preseason, have him produce decently, and in the event there are injuries elsewhere or teams don't like their depth, Gaskin could make sense for a variety of teams out there, in large part because he didn't play very well for Miami. Only 4 games played last season for the Fins, 10 carries, 26 yards, no touchdowns, was more heavily utilized back in 2021, but he's never been the most efficient back. I'm a big fan of running backs who are efficient, who maximize their yards per carry, not guys that put up career sub 4 yard per carry rolls. I think the absolute best you're getting from Myles Gaskin is a future conditional pick. The Dolphins right now, even without Dalvin Cook, the running back room is better. Raheem Mostert, Jeff Wilson, look, those guys are not going to be healthy every game. That's just not who they are, who they've ever really been. But Devon Achane, I liked him a lot coming out of A&M. I think he's a fantastic fit for the Mike McDaniel offense. I think he's over Myles Gaskin right now. Salvon Ahmed can play the similar role as to Gaskin, so I think that just makes the most sense for Miami. One more name to get to, plus I have some more thoughts here on Gaskin. But I want to hear from you guys once again in the comments section. Name a player who you want to trade away. So that's on the roster. Who do you not want anymore? Could be a bigger name guy. Could be a smaller name player like a Cedrick Wilson, like a Myles Gaskin. Go ahead and vote for me with who you want to get rid of right now in the comment section. A player you guys want to trade away. Gaskin himself, just like the last player we discussed, Cedrick Wilson, does not have much trade value. Who's trading for a guy that had 10 carries for 26 yards last year? Nobody. But he is a good name to shop because he's had success somewhat so, maybe a bit more than somewhat so, in the past. And especially if the Dolphins do end up landing Dalvin Cook, that's a good name to trade away. If Dalvin Cook signs in Miami, there is simply not room for Cook and Wilson and Mostert and Achane and Gaskin and Ahmed. Multiple players at that stage would need to be moved on from if you are Miami, barring injuries, etc. That just makes sense for Miami to shop those players, especially if and or when Dalvin Cook ends up signing. Now, if you guys have not already, please subscribe to our Dolphins YouTube channel. 688 as of filming. Those numbers do tend to change. Away from 43,000 subs. Help us get there. Get more free Dolphins videos simply by subscribing right now. Next up is, I think it's Robbie Chosen. That's what is listed under ESPN. When he announced his name change, it was Anderson R, Chosen, which I viewed as Chosen Anderson, but he's wearing Chosen on the back of his jersey. This is the player formerly known as Robby Anderson with both a Y and an IE, then went by Chosen Anderson. Now I guess it's Robbie Chosen. A little bit unclear, but the back jersey says Chosen, so that's what we're going with. So of these 3 players, who would you rather trade for? G for Myles Gaskin, W for Cedrick Wilson, C for Robbie Chosen / Chosen Anderson. I called him Chosen Anderson on our last video. Still not fully sure what the actual name is, but that's what we're going to go with for now. Got to trade one. Who would it be? G, W, or C? More now on Chosen, and I get what Bleacher Report is going for, but of the three names, this one seems to make the least amount of sense for me. In large part because unlike in Madden, you don't normally sign a player in free agency and then trade him away a week later or in the offseason before the season begins, right? He is coming off, by the way, a bad season. There's no way around it for Chosen. Traded from the Panthers to the Cardinals mid-year. Carolina saved a bit of money, got out of the deal. Barely used by Arizona. And his contract was not indicative of a player who teams wanted. He got $152.5K guaranteed on what is basically a vet minimum deal. That is it. Because unfortunately, Anderson's numbers have absolutely fallen off of a cliff. From a 1,000-yard campaign back in 2020 to 519 yards in 2021, 282 last year. He offers speed. He offers some size that there really isn't available on this current roster. But nobody wanted Anderson in free agency. Nobody was jumping over the hills like, oh, we got to sign him. So why would they want to trade for him? The answer is if he does enough in the preseason to draw interest. That is how that ends up happening. That a preseason is strong enough from Robbie Chosen that the teams then have interest. But in that scenario, wouldn't you want to keep Anderson as your wide receiver 3 behind Tyreek Hill, behind Jalen Waddle? Let him be the third receiver? I certainly think so. So because of that, I have a very tough time seeing Robbie Chosen dealt this preseason training camp time frame.